The environment around us is constantly changing, well, normally anyway. Each of these changes is called a stimulus. We need to be able to respond to these stimuli in order to survive. A stimulus can be anything, for example, a change in light. It could be a change in sound. It could also be a change in temperature. It could also be a change in pain. For this purpose of monitoring our environment, we have various sense organs that can detect a range of stimuli. These include our eyes, which detect light, our ears, which detect sound, and they're responsible for our balance and positioning, so they also detect changes in these. Our nose detects chemicals in the air. Our tongue detects chemicals in food and drink. And finally, our skin detects changes in pressure or temperature. Each of these sense organs contains specialized cells called receptors, each of which is sensitive to a specific stimulus. When they're triggered by a stimulus, such as light or chemicals, they produce nerve impulses. These electrical impulses travel along pathways in our nervous system. Our nervous system is made up of the central nervous system, or the CNS, and the peripheral nervous system, or the PNS. The central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system is made up of all of the nerves that connect the central nervous system, or CNS, to the rest of the body. That connects to the receptors and the muscles and glands. The nerves in our body are made of specialized nerve cells called neurons. Like all cells, neurons have a nucleus and cytoplasm, but they also have these special features. Branched endings called dendrons that allow them to connect to other neurons. A long, thin structure called the axon that allows the electrical impulse to be passed for a large distance. They also have a covering or sheath made from myelin, which insulates the axon, kind of like the insulation on an electrical cable. This neuron is a special type of neuron called a motor neuron. It transmits signals from the central nervous system to the effectors, which are muscles or glands. This is a sensory neuron. It transmits signals from receptors in the sense organs to the central nervous system. Can you label the parts? Neurons are long, which can connect distant parts of our body. Some neurons can be up to 1 meter long. If the cell body of a neuron was the size of a tennis ball, then the axon would be over half a mile long. The junctions between neurons are called synapses. An electrical impulse triggers the release of a special chemical called a neurotransmitter. This is so that the signal can cross the tiny gap between neurons. This ensures that the impulse only travels in one direction. Consider the following example of a nervous response of someone catching a ball. Let's take a look at what happened in a little bit more detail in slow motion. First of all, the football moves toward the face. This is the stimulus. Receptors in the eye detect the stimulus. The sensory neurons then carry impulses from the receptor to the central nervous system. The central nervous system acts as a processing center. It coordinates the correct response. The impulse is then passed along motor neurons to effectors, in this case, muscles in both the arms and the legs. This causes the muscles to contract and move. As a result, the ball is then caught. Who would have thought there was so much in just catching a ball?